Hello, everyone, and welcome to the world's most famous podcast, produced by Beverly Hills Magazine. I'm your hostess, Jacqueline, Maddison, and today we dive deep into an interesting conversation. Our guest is Harrison Smith, a licensed mental health counselor and cultural disruptor as the founder of BAEsed. With a background in trauma therapy and years of experience guiding people through relationship confusion, Harrison is bringing heart and healing to the tech space. Let's welcome Harrison to the show. Harrison, how are you? Welcome to the show. It's so good to see you.
Good. Thanks for having me back. How's everything going?
Everything is going wonderful. God is good. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And I'm so glad to be here with you in it.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Excited.
Yeah, so let's dive right in. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey into becoming a licensed mental health counselor?
Yes. So essentially, I kind of fell into it, actually. I went to college, and I was going to be a lawyer. So my major was political science because I come from a long line of lawyers in my family. And then one day I realized that I wanted to be happy.
You know the first, yeah.
I don't think there's, laws for me. And then so I ended up dating somebody when I was in college, and he was studying for mental health counseling, and I fell in love with it, and I didn't want to steal his thing, so it took me a while to jump into it, but then right before my senior year, I was like, screw it, I'm just going to major in psychology. But I didn't end up making me stay in college for actually 2 years longer. So then I just applied to grad schools and got into Florida State.
Fantastic. Now, you've also segued into entrepreneurship. So what sparked your interest in entrepreneurship and that direction? Because that takes courage I want to start my own business.
That it does. Yeah, well, I've always, with my with psychology, I have my private practice. So that was my first intro into being an entrepreneur, being my own business owner, and just working for myself. So I have history in that. And then one day, I want to say it was December 2023, I came home from a really bad date. And I was like, why can't I find a nice, conservative gay man who has the same values as me? And I Googled, gay conservative dating apps. There's dating apps for everything nowadays. And that there was not one in existence. And so I said, I'm going to do it. And then so I just why not? And so I became the one.
Well, congratulations. How does your mental health insights, obviously from your work and experience, how does it inform your work in the dating and tech space?
Yeah, so essentially with the app, so for BAEsed, we incorporate personality assessments, and obviously that's inspired by my mental health background. Because one thing I've noticed being a therapist, especially when I first started, I don't specialize in couples therapy, but I see a lot of couples that come my way, or when I have individual clients who want to bring their spouse or significant other in. And the one thing I noticed early on into these sessions is it typically ends up being individual therapy for both the people that are in, because they only have their individual journeys as in baggage or things that they bring in from their life prior to the relationship that they end up needing to work on while they're in a relationship. And so I felt that was an important aspect for me to have into the app base, so you can to really incorporate personal growth in part of the dating journey, both in and outside of the dating relationship, so you can have those practical results.
Yeah, that's brilliant because, I think any long-term relationship, two individuals need to continue to do that inner work on themselves and within themselves to be able to, really contribute and make the whole relationship a lot more healthier and happier. So the app is called BAEsed. BAEsed. What inspired the name? What does it mean? Do tell.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a tongue-in-cheek name. So I know the left, their term for a lot of their beliefs is being woke. And so for the right, we often, ours is BAEsed, just BASED. so I was like, okay, maybe I should name it BAEsed, but then it just came to me. I was like, why not just kind of add the BAE, which is a slang term for a significant other.
It's right before all else, right? Or before all, before all else.
Oh, for like BAEsed? Yeah, absolutely.
The BAE.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So what were your biggest fears when launching BAEsed? Because moving into the tech space, the dating industry, what were your...
I don't know if I actually had any fears because maybe I think I'm just a little nuts like that. I always the potential for it to not work was a thing, but that's with any business venture. And so I always thought that was a potential, but it was something that I really believed in for myself, and I believed in it so much that I self-funded it with my own money. That's how much I believed in what I was doing. And when I talked to people about it, I went to different events, conservative events, gay conservative events, and was kind of pitching the idea around to people that I trusted. And everyone was really excited about the idea. And they were all like, the feedback that I was getting was like, this is something that we need, and it doesn't exist, because one thing about BAEsed is it's not just about dating, it's about really building community as well. Because as a gay conservative myself, I witnessed firsthand how both hostile and isolated the mainstream gay culture can actually be, especially with me living in LA and West Hollywood, California for several years. I definitely had a lot of hostility and pushback for being a gay conservative out there. And so one thing I see is a lot of people they struggle to find their community. And I don't want people to have to feel like they have to not have the opportunity to be authentic in relationships, not even just dating, but with friendships and social settings, because that's one thing that I see a lot in not just the gay conservative world, but the conservative world in general.
Yeah.
That people feel like they have to be in the closet about being conservative.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's just insane that there's so much division. Can't we all just get along? Myself as a Christian, I'm kind of the mind, like, love everybody, love your neighbor as yourself, and heaven, everybody loves everybody. It's like, can't we figure it out down here, people? So did you face any early setbacks or obstacles that in your launching of the app that other entrepreneurs, maybe should know about, like, that you experienced as an entrepreneur?
Well, with BAEsed specifically, I would say it was the pushback that I got was kind of expected, because it was what I was already really getting, and it was what a lot of us were already getting. I was in Mexico City about a month ago, and I posted on my Instagram story that I was there and enjoying myself, and somebody that follows me that I know back home messaged me a very lovely message stating that he thought that it was not fair that a conservative like myself was enjoying my time in Mexico City, because apparently all conservatives look down upon Mexico and Mexicans, which definitely is not the case. He went on to insinuate that he hoped that I got sexually assaulted or mugged while I was down there as
That is just honestly evil. Like, I'm sorry. To wish harm on anyone is just evil, and that is not cool. So I'm sorry that you even have to read something like that. You know what I mean? Like, again, it gets back to the whole loving your neighbor as yourself thing. Like, that is just evil.
Yeah.
So what have you learned about product development in this tech space that surprised you or maybe you didn't know about before? I'm sure it's been a learning process for you.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah, I was just a mental health counselor out of my private practice, and I didn't know anything about tech or IT or just app development. Remember when I came up with the idea, I literally Googled how to make an app.
Wow, that's awesome.
That was the start of this journey, yeah, and I just realized how much actually goes into developing something like this, because in my mind I was like, oh, how long could it take to build an app? Like a month or two? I can't kind of get people together and put some stuff code on the computer and then boom.
Right. Simple enough.
Right, and so I learned quickly. But it's definitely a lot more than that, and I had to be a lot more hands-on and involved than I thought I was something I was excited about.
Right. So now, What systems or routines keep you productive as a founder, especially launching in the tech space?
What do you mean systems?
Well, personal routines, like how do you stay focused on your goal and what you're trying to build, especially over a long term or an extended time frame, because people might have a goal or vision or a business, but then they get distracted, or how do you stay focused? And actually, because you've developed this over time, it's now built, and now you're adding to it. So what do you do to stay focused and productive on your vision?
A couple things. One, I practice a lot of discipline, not just with BAEsed, but my private practice and fitness, going to the gym. That's definitely something that's been instilled in me really early on in my life. And then two, because I've been the entrepreneur knows, like, there are times where you're like, am I doing the right thing? You're questioning, did I make a mistake? Did I waste my time? And I had those moments myself where I'm like, is this really going to be something? Can I really make something out of this? But those moments always had to just stay focused and to stay on track. I had to remind myself why I started this journey in the first place. Something about reminding myself why I started this in the first place really aligns with my true self to keep me motivated, to keep me going.
Yeah, that self-doubt has killed a lot of dreams, and so going back to your why is super important.
Absolutely, and that was a huge motivator for me as I went along, because not just doing this for myself, but I mean, the idea came from, why can I find someone for myself, but just make an app for that. Just really about, again, community. I want to build a space for my community to just be our authentic self. And to really connect and build deep, lasting connections, whether that's romantic or friendships. And so that was a huge part of the reason why.
Great. So how do you have a team you work with, or are you doing kind of a solo thing? And if you do have a team, how do you build a team that aligns with your vision for what you want to create? Kind of your tribe to come around you and support the vision.
Absolutely. When I say one, working with people that I trust. So I've created this app on my own. So the past year, or a little over a year that I've been developing it, I've hired a team of developers that have been building it for me. We meet multiple times per week so we can make sure that we stay on track and they know exactly what my vision is and what I want. But then when it comes to my team that's helping me, market and do PR, a lot of them were actually people that I already knew in my life that I was already friends with. I knew their values, I knew their work history, I knew that they were dedicated, and I knew that they were determined and they were disciplined as well. And so that's something I've learned a lot, just being in business and just life in general is, again, trust is very important. So the people that I've had in my personal life, in my circle, I don't let anybody in that I don't trust. And so it was really easy to kind of look around and say, okay, who do I want to be a part of this that can help take this to the next step?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's critical. Because one person that you can't trust or that betrays the trust can really do a lot of damage. So that's vital. Now, for you, how do you define success? Personally, professionally, what's it for you?
For me, success it's interesting because there's a couple of versions of success that I have. But when it came to this app, it's weird. It's kind of a paradox because when I decided to do it, I said, okay, Harrison, you're self-funding this. You're going to put in all this money on your own. What if it doesn't work out? How would you feel putting in all this work and money that you've worked for into something that doesn't work out? And to my surprise, I remember sitting there and being okay with it. Obviously, I wanted to return on my investment, but ultimately, I was okay with, just the fact that this is something that I did, because most people, when it comes to business, they have the idea, but they never start anything. They're going to do something and then they never do it. And so for me, that was a huge thing just to be able to say, even if it didn't work out, this is something I did. So to me, that would have been a success in and of itself. And so success is really, I would say, just being better than you were before, the day before.
Yes, I love that. Actually, what you said reminds me of the scripture from a Christian in the Bible says you've got to count the cost of your decisions. And you did just that. You're like, okay, it's going to hit this, but you committed to the cost. And I think that's important as an entrepreneur, as a founder, is you have to understand that there is a risk, but going for it and committing to it and being all in is key to success.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that was a big factor in BAEsed for sure.
Yeah, I love it. So what's your leadership style in terms of your team, and how has it evolved? You know, are you a delegator? Are you what's your leadership style?
I very much hands-on in every aspect of everything. Now, I don't like to micromanage. Trust is a huge thing. I feel like if I can't trust you, I can't work with you.
Right.
So I was lucky enough to work with a team. I did a lot of research and consulted with a lot of people to find a team that I believe could really carry out the vision. But very hands-on, very direct. It's the OCD in me. So
OCD tend to get a lot done.
That we do, yes. It might drive us crazy, but we get the job done, yeah.
There's a quote that says, a certain level of insanity is required for greatness. And it's this picture of a guy like skydiving, because sometimes you do have to go all in on a vision only you can see, and then, motivate a team around you to make it happen. Yeah,
I was actually watching him on Instagram the other day, and I saw this guy. He interviews really successful people. Just ask them, what tips would you give to up and coming entrepreneurs? And this one guy, he made, I think, like a lot of money in his life. And he said, during the interview, he was asking what really started it, and he said, I forgot what company he started, but he put his house up for capital. And so he was like, everyone said I was crazy. I could have lost everything. But he says the same thing I do. You have to be a little bit crazy.
Man, my sister was like, yeah, okay, but whoever said crazy was a bad thing.
It worked out for me so far.
That's right. How funny. So how do you apply your counseling skills in the tech-driven space? And I know you said you're incorporating these tests or questionnaires. Tell us more about that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, so the personality assessments, again, just inspired by my mental health background, personal growth is something obviously that's very important to me.
For all of us, we all need it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, why not incorporate this into my dating app? And again, when I'm looking at, relationship, couples therapy, I always see that it always ends up kind of becoming individual therapy in and of itself anyway, for both parties. And so I said, okay, how can I really, if my goal is to really establish and promote deep-seated, meaningful connections that are lasting, not just in, again, romantic relationships, but also in friendships, and just, how can I really, make that as possible, make that most likely to be more possible? And again, the more you align with yourself, the stronger your relationships are going to be. So I have different personality assessments that really help you learn who you are as a person, what your values are, and then how to apply that in your life, in your day-to-day life, and also in relationships. And so some of the personality assessments I have, one is humor styles-based personality assessment. And then you can say, okay, well, what does my humor style dating or relationships? It actually has a lot to do. Your humor style actually does say a lot about who you are as a person. And our personality assessment, when it comes to humor, it gives insights into how your dominant humor style influences your social and dating relationships, and how to.
That is so cool and so true. Like, I want to be with someone who, we laugh at the same things. We can go into that hysterical laughter together because we share that humor. So that is so important. And, it's so true to be. Compatibility contributes to long-term commitment. And it's not just physical attraction or sexual attraction. That's kind of surface level. Like, I think when we go deeper into our values, our beliefs, our humor styles, the deeper parts of our characters and how we align and are compatible with others in friendships or romance, key to success for long-term lasting relationships.
Absolutely. Great point. And another assessment that we have 5 so far. We'll be adding more as we go along. Another one that we have really gives an insight and analysis into your own deep-seated patterns and thoughts behaviors, and in relationships as well. And then it gets to how to improve upon to maybe break some of those patterns or enable some patterns that are actually working for you.
I love it. Well, I'm not a gay conservative, but I want to go do this test because they sound fantastic.
Honestly, anybody can take them, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's great. So, what do you think tech founders, or why do you think tech founders should take mental health more seriously?
Because, I guess, so in my opinion, when it comes to technology is what we create is a reflection of us, who we are as people. And so if you are, depending on the type of person you are that day, that's going to reflect on what you create, especially when it comes to technology. And so in my personal belief, in order to create the best technology that we can make, we have to be the greatest versions of ourselves and also the version to reflect in what we create.
Such a beautiful, brilliant point, which begs the question, the people who created the violent video games, are you okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I should probably give them my business card today.
I think so. So how do you stay innovative in such a competitive market like dating apps?
Really just looking and seeing what people are asking for. You know, people are asking for so many things that I feel like they're not getting, and especially when it comes to, I think I have to step above just being a therapist because I just get to really know the ins and outs of people that they don't show to everyone else in day-to-day life. And something that I'm really seeing with people is how lonely people are and how people lack a sense of purpose today. And again, another reason why we're incorporated the personality assessments in order to, again, for you to kind of give insights into where your values are so you can get closer to what that sense of purpose for yourself is. And then also be able to create a sense of community. Because one thing one of the many things that differentiates us from other personality assessments is what me and a lot of other people have noticed. A lot of, dating apps, and we've noticed how performative they are and how shallow, and especially when it comes to the gay community, how hypersexualized it is. And so we really wanted to take a step back from that because when I talk to people, I see the huge drive and hunger for something deeper than that. And so I don't really see that on other dating apps, and so that's why I really wanted to incorporate that into BAEsed.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, we as human beings are designed and created to, one, be community creatures, but for love. And so that support of not only the right friendships, but the right romance partner is so important to our mental health, our physical well-being, all of it, you know. And you know what, Jesus said something about, the greatest of all will become the servant of all. And so I love how you said, we think about what people need. And so you're creating a service to fill the need. It's such a deep, important emotional need of people, their need for love, for true connection. And that's powerful. That is powerful. Well, isn't there a song, Love is All We Need? Love is all we need. I mean, truly. But true love is, as they say, hard to find because, what's your philosophy on that, actually? Because you're obviously creating a service to help people find love. And so is it about compatibility? How do we find love with another person? Is it compatible? What is it?
That's a question that people have been asking for thousands of years.
Right.
But no, I could say it's a very multivariate equation for sure. But my number one answer, and again, that goes back to the importance of the personality assessment, it always goes back to the self. If you can truly connect with yourself and be in tune and at one with who you truly are, the rest comes easy. You're still going to have problems in life, but the more you learn to listen to your true inner self and let that navigate you and guide you through life, especially when it comes to picking people that you're going to spend your time with, things become a lot more clear for you, for sure.
Yeah. And may I remind God is love, right? So when we have a relationship with God and then He teaches us to love our neighbor as ourselves, then we kind of can share divine love, and it's like, and then we would have heaven on earth. That's the goal, ultimately, love. you know? So how do you decide which features you want to incorporate in the app, which ones you don't want to, and which ideas maybe are worth pursuing to test? How do you make those decisions kind of practically?
A lot of feedback, just a lot of user feedback. Especially before when I came up with the idea, before I actually started breaking ground, I went to a couple of conferences, gave some big conferences. Some that my friends were running and created, and I was just thinking, what is it that you even want? You know, if you saw an app like this, what would you like to see? How would you like to feel when you use it? So a lot of feedback and just really a lot of being on the ground, talking to people, and again, forming real connections with people.
Yeah, I love it. So what do you want your legacy as a founder to be in the tech space or just as an entrepreneur in general?
Things to do yourself. Absolutely. One of the things that I see a lot that steers people away from being their true selves is, we all have this persona that we wear in day-to-day life. And a lot of things now, I hear a lot of people, especially a lot of the New Age movement, say, destroy the ego or get rid of the persona. I just don't think that it's something that we do actually need in order to navigate through life, especially social settings. That people make that a lot of people make is that they identify with their persona as who they actually are. And so that deviates them from their true self. And so people forget that, hey, just who you present yourself to be in the real world is just a mask that you're wearing. It's not who you really are. And so we're making all these decisions based on thinking that this is who we are, and that, again, that's still just in the wrong path.
Yeah.
So I would want people to be able to, again, connect with their true self so they can be authentic.
Yeah, so how can people, what are your suggestions for someone to achieve authenticity and aligning with their true self?
Therapy. I would say that's
Yeah, really?
Yeah, good, quick, easy answer. But I would say really listen to yourself, ask yourself, what are your goals? Similar to what you asked me before, what are your goals? Is what I'm doing today aligned with me with where I want to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? And are the things that I'm doing really working? Because the things that I did, that when I was in my early 20s, the things that may have worked for me at some time didn't always work for me. It got to a point where the things that I was doing weren't working for me anymore. And I had to recognize, okay, wait a minute, if this isn't working for me anymore, is it really aligned with who I am? And the answer was no. And then it took some self-awareness and some time to figure out how to pivot from that and how to, be something else or do something else. So that would be my answer for that.
Wow, that's so true. Because we do evolve and change. And like you said, it's so important that you self-reflect and kind of assess and make changes based on who you are. Whether it's starting a new business that aligns with your current, values and hopes and wishes.
It's a hard thing to do, but definitely possible and definitely rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. So you describe BAEsed as more of a movement than a tech product. What's the thought behind that?
Again, when it comes to the loneliness that I see that people are feeling, these closeted Republicans, especially closeted gay Republicans, honestly, I hate to see it because, we shouldn't have to hide who we are. And then, again, that just leads us to living inauthentic lives. So we have to suppress part of ourselves. One thing is it's hard to not suppress. It's hard to, how do I say this properly? It's hard to suppress part of yourself without suppressing all of yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
Parts are so deeply connected. So I want people to be able to find a space, a platform where they can just be themselves, authentically, and not have to worry about any backlash, negativity, hostility, or isolation from anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for BAEsed in the coming year? So first of all, where can people sign up? How do they get it? And then what's next?
Yeah, so we're currently on both the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. So you can download it from either one. If you want the links to those stores, you can either just go to the stores directly, or you can go to our website, BAEsed.com, and you can get more information on BAEsed, what our mission is, what we're about, what we stand for, and you also find the links to both the app stores on that website as well. And then what's next? I would love to start countries that are definitely have a need for it as well, especially I'm seeing a lot of movements in Europe, especially Eastern Europe, and so, or in Western also really all over Europe. And so I would definitely love to tap into different markets and offer this platform to gay conservatives everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the core value that guides everything you do in your work and life right now?
Core value that guides everything that I do. You know, I can keep harping on it, but I'm just going to say, again, just being authentic. That's really where I'm at in my life right now, is how do I show up as myself in every setting that I can show up as. And I found that it really has been working for me. You know, one of the things that I tell people is, you know, it's just when you truly show up as yourself and are honest and authentic with other people, yeah, you're going to get a lot of pushback, you're going to get a lot of backlash depending on what you believe in, but you gain so much more positive than negative. You find people that truly believe in what you do. You find community, you find opportunities, you find yourself. And so that's really one of the things I want people to take away from this, and that's what the experience I want them to have when they use this app.
Yeah, I love it. So why do you think people are craving more intentional, value-aligned relationships now, seemingly more than ever? I mean, I know we just went through a shutdown of years, being isolated. That didn't help. But why do you think people are, like you said, not really satisfied so much with the hypersexual connections, but are seeking more?
I think in the past several decades, we've been seeing this very performative nature that people have, especially when it comes to social media. Just feeling like you have to perform or put on a certain show, and you see it in politics, you see it in media, and celebrities, they have to be polished. And I think people are tired of that. People want to see something real. People want the true you. You know, you don't want to see the facade anymore. I think people are just really have like facade fatigue. Honestly,
yeah. I think it makes perfect sense. That's why, you know, the fact of the matter is we're all dealing with our ocean of emotion, and we all have the need for love and acceptance and support, and, you know, and these are just innate human needs. And I think the facades, like you say, kind of makes those things not seem real, but they are real, and that's the real human experience that we're all having, you know. And so to address that and have a dating app that goes deeper and cares about aligning you with the right person on all those deeper levels is so vital.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think it's like the Wizard of Oz effect. You know, like we're tired of being in front of the curtain. We want to see what's behind it. We want to see truth, and truth is something that people are really craving nowadays.
That's so true. Absolutely. The truth shall set you free.
Set me free. Especially, again, just being just my true self, and that's what led to this app. And so I'm a true testament to, again, how just being yourself and being authentic really can benefit your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's some advice you would give to any other entrepreneur who's considering starting their own venture?
I would say you're going to have moments of doubt, because I definitely did, but break through that doubt by, again, asking yourself, okay, what I said before, why am I doing this in the first place? If you truly believe in what you're doing and why you're doing it, then things fall into place. As long as you put in the work and the effort, things can fall into place.
Yeah, that's true. Is there anything else you'd like to add or share before we wrap up?
Just BAEsed, again, it's available now. You can find us on both the Google and Apple Store. And then also, it's I don't want people to think it's just about if you have to be a Republican in order to join the app. It's really for conservatives. It's for people that I feel like they don't really fit into the mainstream gay culture. You know, like just the hypersexuality and just the performative and shallow nature of a lot of it. And so if you find that you want something different and you're looking for something more real, then BAEsed is the place for you.
I love it. Fantastic. I wanted to see if there's anything else. So I wanted to go, are there other ventures that you have in mind for that could maybe stem from this, like any other visions for the future, or are you just focused on base right now and kind of where it can go, or are you already playing with other ideas of other things?
I'm focused right now on where base could go, especially since we just launched, but there are things that I want base to branch out into in the future. I don't want to say exactly what they are. Yeah, that's multiple ideas. I don't know which direction we're going to take right now since we're so early. But yes, so I would say stick around because the base we just started and we've got a long way to go.
That is so exciting. Well, I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us about your journey and base. I'm excited to see where the future takes you and where your growth goes. It's so exciting to start a venture, and to believe in your dream and to go for it, because anything is possible. Again, with God, all things are possible. So believe in your dreams, have faith, and remember to love your neighbor as yourself, right?
Absolutely. I like the way you said it.
Well, God bless you. I'm so excited to see you again in the future, to keep up with you and see where you are then, and we'll look forward to that.
Absolutely. I can't wait to come back and give you more updates on base and have more conversation.
Sounds fantastic. We'll see you then. Thanks so much for coming on, Maddison.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Bye.